Shalom, everybody. It's our time to study again. Monday came. Yay. It's cold. So I don't want you to think like I don't care for Mondays. I don't mind Mondays. But it is a cold one now that winter is around the corner. But I pray that your guys' week is going good and um, that you're seeing great things now that I'm hoping, anyways, that many of you that are studying along with me are seeing how easy it is to have that relationship, that connection with Father, just to give Him some of your time. He doesn't ask much from us whatsoever. He just wants to make sure that we still want Him. And that's where it's at. A lot of us like to feel wanted and needed ourselves, so we have to put ourselves most of the time in his shoes as to how it is to be even a true believer unto him, a genuine child to him. And I mean that's why we're reading what we're reading, to see all these examples of what he did with those since the start, and how their relationship with him was. And then later on you can see more of how the relationship with those that walked with him, but their relationship with their family, and how he's always moving, he's always present in everybody. And so you can always relate to him on a lot of things. And that's where a lot of my convictions come from, because I don't just see him as like me needing him as a child, but then I can relate to him when I'm seeing a situation like I'm going through with my children, and then how he's handled certain things with those beforehand that were walking with him, and how he handled the situation with that person. And so then I can say, okay, I could use this for whatever is happening, with my children. So like from a parent to parent, there's just many ways to have that connection with Father. So I'm praying and hoping that's what you're coming to. And I'm talking to more or less those that have are barely starting off, wanting to get into the Bible, not just taking it at a, just sitting in a church and hearing what the ministers teach, and maybe some of them might even block you from even having that, your own type of relationship connection with Father, because they want to make sure you stay under their understanding of the word. So sometimes there can be those blockers, but you gotta, when you read and you keep on reading, where Father has an issue with those that are in leadership, and they make his word of no effect, and they blind his people, that's where you have to know that you have that connection with him through Messiah Yeshua. And we'll get to all that when we get there, to see how now you have, you know, we've all had the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's been, I mean, we've been seeing it through this whole time. He's been around, and how he's talked with each one before it came into it being spoken that you needed to do, particular things in order to obtain the Holy Spirit. But he's always been around. But like I said, we'll get into all that down the road when we get there. But I'm just praying that what you're seeing is, it's just so easy to have that relationship with Father. And I hope that you're seeing the blessings all around you, just seeing him move and talking to you in your own little way of, um, is this coincidence or what? Seeing that you might put something in thought with his word, and then all of a sudden you're out driving and some song comes on, or someone says something where it's like you had like a moment with him and thought. And to me, those are those moments of like, you were around the whole time. Okay, so I don't audibly hear him. I know there are many brothers and sisters that are able to, and it's exciting to hear what they have that connection with him. And I don't know if I still need to put much more I growth. I guess that he has to grow me to that maturity with him yet for me to get it, or maybe I never will. There's certain things that you can hope for, and maybe he wants you in a just in a certain way of hearing him, and you don't want to grow into like, well, maybe I'm not being talked with, or maybe you can degrade yourself uh, to, to not seeing the abilities you have by wishing what other people have. And it's not to say that you can't wish for more. You should desire more. Paul talks about like the gifts and stuff, about always wanting and hoping for more. But I think there was a part where I got to like, it really hit me when I got to understand like John the Baptist never did um, great miracles for Messiah, but yet he was a great prophet. He was a great speaker. He spoke of the word, so he didn't do signs, but what he gave was what we needed. So, and that was counted to him of having an amazing ability, to speak up for Messiah, and you know open up people's understandings of getting right, getting back to getting, um, you know, repenting for their sins. So, but yeah, that's just to share in my hopes towards everybody, that to be an encourager, to keep walking and doing what he expects out of you in your relationship with him. It's not hard, it really isn't. But in that, let us get started. Uh, Father Yahweh, we come before you giving you praise and thanks today. We thank you, Abba, for all that you do in our lives, showing us who you are as we take our time to really sit and reflect on your word. We can see now how so many times we can hear of so many different types of interpretations coming from everybody's uh, viewpoint, whether it's coming from their own reading on you, or maybe they're just speaking out of what they've been taught to believe. And so, therefore, they really don't have a full on understanding. But some have made you out to be like you're the harsh God, and Yeshua, your son, who is the gentle lamb, is the sweet God, and he's having done away with stuff that you've said. But when we take our time to, you know, take in what is said, yes, but like, as a grain of salt, take it with a grain of salt. Um, but to go and test it ourselves and go and connect to your word one on one, we can see how patient you have been ever since the start of man, Adam and Eve, and what came from that, your compassion there of still clothing them, and your compassion to still being there in their lives and talking with them. You haven't left any of us nor forsaken any of us, and you're granted, yes, were consequences, but that just comes by all of us who have um, that same kind of way of doing things. Every home has rules, and so, but we can see that um, you're long suffering, you're forgiving, you don't give harsh, you wait patiently and hope for the best out of your creation, that we will turn and do things right, takes you a long time before you want to say, okay, it's time to wipe this whole city out. So I pray that many more come to realizing that it's a beautiful journey to read you on our own and to have that relationship. So this way, when others come to tell us something of you, we can say, yeah, but how about we look at him from this point that doesn't really, that might be towards that particular point, yes, but why did that happen? But he hasn't been like that forever. So I just thank you, Abba, that we can have this one-to-one, one-to-one moment with you, and to just read from you about you, you know. And then, yes, we can go and share with others how we have come to know you and what we've gotten, you know, encouraged by, or what we have, you know, been given this comfort by you in, areas of our lives. So we just thank you, Abba, for loving us the way that you do, and be with us as we read your word, and help us to retain it, write it on our hearts, so it never goes away. In this way, whenever we go through situations, things that we have taken our time with will come back, bringing to remembrance what you've given us over the time, and it'll help us in that one particular moment. So we thank you, Abba, and we love you. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. Okay, so put the 1 hour mark. Okay, it is on. Okay, I'm just making sure all my settings are right. My camera's on me, my volume's up. Okay, so I'll make sure I have it all going. I'm growing to what needs to be remembered. Okay, so recap. I'm always on the recaps because this is what helps keep things always forever memorized. Okay, so I only got through really chapter 22. Okay, because there was much to still to me reflect on, and to recap on with chapters 20 and 21, with the situation of Abimelech, and it kind of another familiar you know example to Pharaoh. And then, of course, then we saw that the birth of Isaac came about. Father fulfilled his promise, like he had said. It's just that many of us don't learn how to be as patient as Father, so we kind of tend to think Father's telling us he's given us the go ahead, but we kind of have to figure it out for ourselves, and that's where we put ourselves in more error, rather than just waiting on Father to just, he when he says that he's gonna make it come through, you just gotta be patient how he brings it about. So many, like I said, many times when we go through these stories, we're gonna see how many people, they heard something by him, and then they made it come about their own way. But I feel if they would have just waited, it would have still came about his way, like, and they would have could have bypassed a lot of things that came about from them doing it themselves. But anyways, so we do see the promise given to Isaac, of Isaac to Abraham and Sarah. It came about. Then we have where Hagar and Ishmael, they got sent away, sadly. But Father told Abraham to listen to his wife, because that's where the promise was going to be, with Isaac. Not to say that Ishmael didn't get blessed by father. We did get to read where father basically raised him, and still blessed him, as he was growing up. Father was with him. And there is a psalm that makes me think of that, and that's where he is a father to the fatherless. Father is a father to the fatherless. Father Yahweh. Okay. Um, and like I said, it's not because Ishmael didn't have Abraham necessarily. His dad was alive. He just wasn't going to be raised by him. So he is a father to the fatherless. Father Yahweh. He'll take care of you when situations, you know, turned out the way they were, turned out the way they became. Then we see the covenant that was made with Abraham and Abimelech, okay, and how I felt in a sense that um, Abimelech seemed to be a really neat ruler. I don't know, maybe some have uh, thought of him in a different light, you know, but I don't grab that when I've read on Abimelech. You just see is that he's teaching Abraham also how to be, to be confident in sharing what needs to be shared in truth, because Abimelech got to see his own God with him. He's like, your God is with you. Why did you why did you feel the need to say what you said? You could have made this pass from me if you had just told me, giving him the confidence and showing him how to just communicate well. That's how I take it. And then, the whole situation with the wells. And that's when he was like, Abimelech was letting him know, like, I didn't know this thing happened. You didn't come to tell me, and I didn't know this thing happened. But anyway, either which way, it ended up pretty well. And Abraham dug a well, and it was a well of oath. And they made a covenant together to be good with one another. And then we have the sacrifice of Isaac, where Abraham was tested by Father Yehovah. And like I said, a lot of when we get to the story of Messiah, a lot of what we see at the point of Abraham, you can see where Father was what if we're willing to give over ourselves to him that much, even by the one thing that we've been hoping on, then he himself can see that it's reciprocal. We're willing to love him that extreme, then he's willing to love us that extreme, and he gave us his son, to die in our stead, in our place, when we've been deserving of a lot, that we've broke Father's heart in many ways. That's how I see it. But we'll get through. We'll get to see where a lot of like, man, like, why Israel? Why did you? But then it's also opens my eyes as to like, Janet, why did you? It's kind of the whole. These examples help us to understand, like, oh, if I would have just known now, because my relationship with Father is growing, and I'm excited for what I understand of him now, and I reverence him, and I love him a lot, and just want to make sure, that I'm always doing good. But now it's like you just have that within you, like, if I would have known then what I know now, man, I maybe I would have received a lot more blessings, like what Father talks by promises. And that's what I'm trying to like put into my children. Like, they don't understand. They don't it's like to me, I talk to Father and I'm like, why do these things still repeat? Like if they were to just take what I'm trying to give them, what I hadn't had then, it would be so much well for them. And it's not to say that they're not mindful of it, and sometimes I feel like there have been moments where I feel like, oh, okay, good, they they chose to do a lot more better in this situation. um that it I felt like it could have went wrong, but it didn't. And I'm like, oh great, I feel like that will be good, just because you just want the best for your children. When you see Father's promises, it's like you really want people to understand and stress it in them, like, don't choose that. Don't you He will show you himself, he will bless you, but you have to give yourself willfully, to what he's wanting out of you. It's not hard. It's not hard to die to self. It's just, are you strong enough? Do you want to really? It's not hard. It's just, do you want to? And so most of the time, you just see where people's attitudes are like, it just comes out of no when you see it's been done. But anyways, that's besides the point. I'm just adding on to where it takes me in my thoughts of it. But Father tests Abraham, and like I said, when we get into Messiah's story, we could see how Father gave the same kind of example of himself through his son, with what we see by Abraham's story with Isaac. And then, of course, I went on to like wondering on how Isaac must have felt, having been told that Father will supply the animal. And not to say that Isaac didn't see certain things happen from Father's um, you know, blessings to his dad, that he didn't doubt his dad's word. And then all of a sudden to just be being bind yourself, and now what's going through his mind is in him questioning, like, you said that Father was going to provide, and was he crying out? Was he saying, no, Dad, what? Like, what God will want you to sacrifice a human, what could have been in Isaac's mind, and at the end of it, did he hold a grudge? Did he stay hurt? Did he not at all? Did he finally realize, that God says of things and he shows himself, and and you just listen and you just hope and trust that, well, this is what he's asking for, and then hope that it's a different story at the end. It gets you to think on like certain positions that you've been put in. And like I said, sometimes Father will use someone else in your path to test you, and here that person could probably hold a grudge, not knowing that he was just being used as well to be a trial run for the one that's being looked at. So there's a lot of different angles to look at this. I know that Messiah, when we get to thinking on him, he willfully wanted to come and reconcile us back to his Father. So he came on this mission knowing what was going to happen, but he did it for the fact that he loved his dad, and he loved us. He loved Father's creation. So there was that love to come and sacrifice himself, for us, and to bring that reconciliation. And so, it's not like he held that grudge against his dad. So I'm just wondering about Isaac's situation, or did he look at it like, how could you? Or at the end, was he just like, uh, when all was said and done, and his dad finally tells him, the Lord, had me place you there to test me. Did that ease Isaac? sometimes we can hold stuff against other family members, not knowing that we're just possibly someone being used to test them out, and it's coming by their hand, of course, and we think it's them, but it could just be Father, you know, talking to them, and just they're the ones being tested through us in a sense. So there's so many ways to look at that, and you can have I could have many other examples to, like, using you know job related situations, or you know something could be said by example, but that's where it's at. My thoughts on Isaac, on how that must have been. And then, of course, the way I look at Messiah, his was different. He wasn't in no grudge. He was willfully wanting to come and do what he was asked of his father, because his father loved us and he too loved us. So they wanted us to return, you know. Okay, so that takes care of my recap of how I viewed everything and what I shared then. So now we are in chapter 23. But before I get into 23, of course, I showed in how there was little pieces in the story of Abraham, that it doesn't just continue as like this, like a, I don't know how you say it, like a soap opera or some type of like series where the story continues. There's like certain pieces in there that it jumps from this particular situation, and now it jumps into the different situation of something pertaining to Abraham. Okay, so we did end up seeing where, we jumped from what happened to um, Hagar and Ishmael, and then of course then it jumped into what happened with Abraham and Abimelech, and then of course then after that, after those speeches, it says then this came about where Father tested Abraham in the sacrifice of Isaac, and then it jumped into like a small portion of what was reported to Abraham by I guess his servants, or something came about where he got reported about his brother, who ended up having some children with his wives. So he's just being reported that he's an uncle to all these other to more children by his brother. Okay, and then of course when you see from there, it kind of gives you an insight to where they come from, um, so that's just to show how I look at, okay, we jump from here, now we hear how it is. It's like a storyline that continues. Now we are in chapter 23. Okay, so we have the title for it, Sarah's Death and Burial. Okay. The life of Sarah was 127 years, and Sarah died. Man, 127 years. Imagine all them years that go by from when you read everybody's age. It's amazing to see someone live past 100. I got to have my own experience of meeting people past 100. I don't know why that's just like something like phenomenal, but it is. When I was a CNA, and I got to meet some of the elderly uh, people there, and some of them were 101, 103. I think that was like the oldest one I got to meet, and she is sweet. But anyways, sorry. Okay, so the life of Sarah was 127 years, and Sarah died in the city of Arbach, which is in the lowland. This is Hebron in the land of Canaan. Abraham went to grieve Sarah, to mourn. And Abraham rose up from his dead body. Okay, and right there I shared with you when we were somewhat trying to get into it, how I was like, it's not his dead body. And I know there is that expression. It made me laugh because at the end of what I was speaking with you guys, it came to me with that expression, over my dead body. But that's when you tell someone like you're not going to get that, even if I die, you're not getting it, even if I have to die, you're not going to do what you're thinking to do over my dead body kind of statement. That's not related to this, and it's not pointing that he has a dead body. It's pointing to his wife's body. Okay, and then of course I pointed out how the nakedness of it, when it talks about the nakedness of Noah, it's not reflecting on Noah being naked. We'll get to the laws where it states that that's the wife, and right here we see it again where it's talking about Abraham's dead body. It's his wife's dead body. Okay, so he's going to be hoovering over himself like a ghost. Okay, and Abraham rose up from his dead body. Okay, and this is still the Septuagint version as to what we're reading here. And Abraham spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, I am an alien and a sojourner among you. So give me a property for a grave among you, so I can bury my dead there. The sons of Heth answered Abraham, saying, No, Lord, hear us. You are a king from a God among us. Bury your dead body in our finest tombs. I don't know how to look at that. You are a king from a God among us. Could this be saying like these, like Heth, or these people that are talking to him, and they have maybe multiple gods, but they recognize that this one God that kind of feels familiar to Abraham's God, they can see that he is like a chosen king to that one God they also believe exists. Makes me wonder, because I mean there is a part that we'll get to when it says that Paul went to go and talk to a particular people, then they called it like an unknown God, and he used that to reflect Father, because they had something in their midst of a God, but he just wasn't known. But he associated like this God is that God. This God is the Almighty God. But my memory of it's a little hazy at the moment. But something to that makes me wonder if, these people that he's talking to have also like a familiar understanding, to Jehovah. They just, maybe they're just not connected to him. I mean, we do see where Abimelech, he uh, talked with God, so maybe he even understood that same God in um, his own type of uh, belief system, or worship um, system going on with his gods. Maybe that's why he feared, when he got to actually meet the God. It just makes me wonder about that. I don't know. And that's why he was just like, this could have been handled so much better between you and I, Abraham. I'm talking on Abimelech. He's like, because he knew how to honor, a God amongst gods or gods. So therefore, I don't know. Just so much could, the way I'm thinking on it, anyways. Uh, so much could be thought on it. Because that's what they're telling you. Are a king from a God among us. So like they have a God that they believe, and they believe that this Abraham is like kingly, and he kind of resembles this one God's maybe chosen person. I don't know. I don't know how to look at that, but that's what how I'm looking at it at this moment. Okay, sorry, verse 6 once again. No, Lord, hear us. You are a king from a God among us. Bury your dead body in our finest tombs. For none of us will withhold his tomb from you to bury your dead body there. Abraham got up and bowed to the people of the land, the sons of Heth, and Abraham spoke to them, saying, If you have it in your soul that I might bury my dead body away from my face, listen to me and speak to Ephron. I'm hoping that's how you'd say it, because I know sometimes not all PH are Fs. Is that how you say that name? Ephron? Okay. This time my husband's a little silent because he doesn't know. I'm hoping it's said that way. Well, the son of Zohar, okay, on my behalf. And may he give me the double cave, which is his, the one which is in part of his field. For the silver it is worth. Okay. So he wants to buy it for, the right amount to the field. May he give it to me for a property, as a tomb among you. Ephron, I hope that's how you say it, was seated among the sons of Heth, replying to Abraham. Ephron the Hittite spoke, while the sons of Heth and all those entering into the city were listening, saying, Be present with me, Lord, and hear me. The field and the cave that is in it I give to you, in front of my fellow citizens. I have given it to you. Bury your dead body. Okay, so we could see where this how to say it, negotiation, I guess you could say, is something that's, trying to be like a contract deal. Abraham's willing to buy the property from Ephron, and now we see like everybody's taking witness to this conversation, and he's just willfully, desiring to be a blessing to Abraham, to just give it to him freely. He wants to just be a blessing to him and wants to give it to him. So we see that this community of tribes together are watching this agreement going on. Verse 12, and Abraham bowed before the people of the land and said to Ephron in the hearing of, okay, and I found the little letter A. There's only one little letter to talk on this chapter, and it means ears before. So in the hearing of can be said as hearing of ears before. Hearing ears before. In the hearing ears before. Okay. And Abraham bowed before the people of the land and said to Ephron, in the hearing of all the people of the land, since you are before me, hear me. Take the silver for the field from me, and bury my dead body there. Ephron replied to Abram, saying, no, Lord, for I have heard the value is 400 didrachmas of silver. Okay, I don't know what value that is, or how much that 400 didrachmas of silver, whatever didrachmas is of silver. Okay, between me and you. Okay, so no, Lord, for I have heard the value is 400 didrachmas of silver. Between me and you, what is it? Like, what is that? It's not very much. So he's still trying to be like, kind. Like, what is that? It only costs like, what, 200. Well, what is that? Something to that, like my own type of thoughts on a low amount, you know, about something. Well, what is that between you and I? Just take it, just have it. Okay, that's how I'm seeing that conversation. Okay, so between me and you, and what is that? You now bury your dead. Go ahead, it's yours. You now take it, bury your dead. And Abraham heard Ephron, and Abraham delivered for Ephron the silver that he spoke about in the ears of the sons of Heth. But Abraham was still adamant, I guess you could see that. And Abraham heard Ephron, and Abraham delivered for Ephron the silver that he spoke about in the ears of the sons of Heth, 400 didrachmas of silver approved for merchants. So because Abraham heard, the amount, he was just adamant, like, okay, you said it was that much, so be it. I still am going to pay. I don't know. When I read that before, I was just like, why the attitude? Abraham, like, why didn't you just like let it be given, as a kindness, But I don't know. We've seen, time and time where it's like, he's caution with people that you'd meet, I mean, for what he had to tell Pharaoh, then we see what he had to tell Abimelech. So maybe he just didn't want stuff coming back to him, or said or spoken of him, in the wrong way, because sometimes when people speak things, they can say it in a group, in a crowd, but over time things still get forgotten. People perish, they die, and then the next one, the children down the road, they don't recall what was stated. So maybe he's just like, no, I want it to be known. I did pay for it. I don't want people to think they took advantage. Who knows? These are just all my thoughts that when I've gotten to that part, it's just like, why? You know, and maybe he thought someone would um vandalize it. I mean, there's that thought, if they think that he took it wrongfully. I mean, we do have the example of when he was talking to Abimelech about the situation of how is it stated here? The cisterns of water. Okay, so something happened to where the cisterns of water, I guess, were covered or something like that. It says, which the servants of Abimelech had taken for themselves. So they're like, no, this is ours. Even though that there was still good um, kindness, things being done between Abimelech and Abraham. But because Abraham saw how the servants treated him or handled that situation kind of poorly, of course he let Abimelech know, but Abimelech didn't know about it. Um, he probably was just like, no, I'm going to pay for this property because I don't need anything being done to it, because they might say later on, of me that I've gotten it wrongfully. It's just always like just making sure that things are just done, you know. Sometimes it's just better off by contract deal. And then it kind of makes me to kind of go give an example. It kind of reminds me of like how my own siblings and I, what we did um, with the property that my mom inherited. Um, because there was I ended up, my mom was my landlord with the house that I have today. My mom, I bought my house from her. My uncle made a contract deal between my mom and I that I would um, rent to own it from her, and so I bought my home from my mom. And then it came down that my mom got blessed from another lady, and she had that property. And so my siblings and I, we put it up for sale, but it didn't sell. And so then later on, as I was thinking in my head, like, what if my children, one of them ends up wanting to stay? I don't have nothing to really pass down besides until I'm gone from this place. And then who am I gonna have to pick which one, or which one's gonna want this place? And granted, they could all decide to sell it themselves, as the three that, like how me and my brother, my sister, and I had thought. But I thought, what if one of them has something or wants to stay, and I have nothing really to help them by? And so then, of course, that's when I thought to buy my brother and my sister out. And oh, we talked it over, and sure enough, we got into like a conversation about it, and they were in agreement. And um, my aunt, she's the one who was like, you and your siblings, you guys love each other, but something can always go for the worst, and you should always have everything legally documented. Like you should have it written down, just in case. You never know what happens, and you can't have family feuds. I mean, look what happened with Cain and Abel. Um, Not that Abel had anything, not spoken of if he had any kind of quarrelings with Cain, but Cain had an issue with his own brother. And we're going to see time and time family feuds. They're there. But she brought that to my attention, and I love my siblings too much to like make them feel like I didn't trust their word for it. And either which way, a lot of family members, I spoke what we said by verbal contract, I know a lot of family members would have let my other siblings know, like, yeah, you had an agreement there, that if anything sour would have came from it, I know family would have backed me up. We didn't make a contract deal, and it's not to say like the thought didn't cross, like, could my brother and my sister ever like do something um hurtful of trying to. There was no contract. Our names are still on that place. We could still, sell it and gain more. I mean, it you know, could have went that way. But I'm glad that uh, my brother and my sister's bond, our bond then was a lot more strong, and that, yeah, I was able to take, buy that from them, and it went well by verbal contract. But sometimes you still just want to make sure that you're covered in all uh, areas of it. And so, yeah, I could see why Abraham didn't just accept it. Just like, I'm gonna buy it. So he paid for what it was worth, or that he heard the value of it. Okay, back to 16. And Abraham heard Ephron, and Abraham delivered for Ephron the silver that he spoke about in the ears of the sons of Heth, 400 didrachmas of silver approved for merchants. And there stood the field of Ephron, which was at the double cave, whose face is toward Mamre. And so, even with the things mentioned in here, like I said, if you're good with maps, I'm still not great at maps. These are like older names, of course, but I'm pretty sure if someone did a really good study um, to like older maps, you probably could find these things, there. Um, so this is the double cave whose face is toward Mamre, the field and the cave which was in it, and every tree which was in the field, which is in its boundaries round about. And Abraham, for Abraham as a property before the sons of Heth, and all who were entering into the city. Okay, so for Abraham as a property before the sons of Heth, and all who were entering into the city. So everybody got to see that um, arrangement, that agreement, and that it was paid for. Verse 19. And these things Abraham, no, after these things Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the double cave of the field, which is opposite Mamre. This is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. After the field and the cave that was in it were established for Abraham as property, for a grave from the sons of Heth. Okay, so that takes care of that. Okay, in chapter 24, 17 minutes. I think we can read some of it. Let's keep on going. Okay, this one's called Isaac and Rebecca. I love Isaac and Rebecca's story. Cute little romance story. I'm one for romantic stories, and so I like Isaac and Rebecca's. Okay, um, verse 1. Sorry, I was in thoughts as to like what has like a romantic story. I mean, when we read about Abraham and Sarah, the father calls them out, and they're already a couple. So I guess this would be like the starting point of a romantic story. And then, of course, you have Adam who meets Eve, but it doesn't really say how he felt. You can just imagine what, goes through a man's mind, of course, by what you can recall from your own spouse and you, how that took place the first time that you met. So, yeah, it could be something to think or imagine on with Adam when he met Eve for the first time. But as far as like seeing from Abraham's story, didn't share that part. They were already together. But this one is a beautiful tale. Mm. Okay, so Isaac and Rebecca. And Abraham was old, advanced in days, and Jehovah blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to his servant, the oldest, the oldest of his house, who was overseer of all his things. Okay, so he's talking to his servant. Okay, one of the and one of the older ones. Um, that's taking care of all of Abraham's things. Um, so he tells him, "Put your hand under my loin, and I will make you swear by Jehovah, uh, the God of the heavens and of the earth, that you will not take a wife for my son Isaac from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I live, but you shall go to my land where I was born, and to my tribe, and you shall take a wife for my son Isaac from there." Okay, so here we see uh, arranged marriages um, were a were much practiced, um, and they still are, I guess, in some cultures. I don't know too much on everybody's um, arrange arrangements and beliefs and customs like that everywhere, but here I can see that's what's I think arranged marriage. And we can see how they have their own type of uh, like, how do you say, like binding deal. Instead of like what we have today, let's shake on it, right here, put your hand under my loin, or there's the pinky promise, um, to do some type of a swear, like a give me your word kind of thing. So put your hand under my loin, and he's gonna have him promise him that he's not gonna give his son one of the Canaanite women. He wants him to go to his land where he once uh, came out from, and to take one from his tribes, from his people there. Okay, verse 5. The servant said to him, "Perhaps the woman is not willing to go with me back to this land. Will I bring back your son to the land from where you came from there?" Okay, so he's like, maybe she might not come back with me, but you're gonna want me to take him over there, want me to take him. I'm guessing he's wondering, should he just live over there, and then make it, happen on his own. That's all I can assume. So perhaps the woman is not willing to go with me back to this land, to come over here. Will I bring back your son to the land? Do I take him over there? From where you came from there. Abraham said to him, take care for yourself that you not return my son there. So he's like, no, he's telling him, don't take my son over there. Yehovah, Eloah of the heavens and the God of the earth, who took me from the house of my father and from the land where I was born, who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, I will give this land to you and to your offspring. He himself will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son Isaac from there. So, well, let me continue. If the woman does not wish to go with you to this land, you will be released from this oath. Only you may not return my son there. So there he's stating it again, like, whatever you do, I do not want you to take my son there. He said it twice to him. But he's just letting him know, like, Yehovah knows what we're in hopes for, and he will make it happen. He can confidently say that because Father had shown him so many things and had given him so many things as he walked with him. So he knew that that prayer request would be answered. And he's just letting him know, like, it's not going to be unsuccessful. The angel's going to go ahead of you to set up everything. It's gonna happen. But he's just letting him know that if it does not go as that he's trying to reassure him in confidence towards Father. If he doesn't, if his servant is having a hard time seeing that it can happen and it doesn't happen, I guess, like what? Due to the servant's maybe disbelief or not enough effort. Not that Father wouldn't make it happen. He's like, if the girl doesn't want to come, okay, he's like, if we think on that, then still, I don't want you to take my son that way. Okay. And it also could go that way too, on the thoughts of the woman not wishing to go. But Abraham was confident. He knew Father would help him out. Okay, verse 9. So the servant placed his hand under the loin of Abraham, his master, and swore to him regarding this matter. And the servant took 10 camels from the camels of his master, and from all the goods of his master with him, and got up and went to Mesopotamia. And there we can see another name for it. I don't know, well, I can go back over it later on, but I know in one place it says that it's land of Ur, but now we see it as Mesopotamia. They're all, the same. Okay, and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. And he rested the camels outside the city, beside the well of water. Toward evening, when the water fetchers go out, okay, so he was resting the camels there where the water fetchers go out. And he said, O Jehovah, Eloi of my master. So now we see where the servant himself is now praying to Father Jehovah. Um, and he's directing his prayer like, you are the God of my master. Eloi of my master, God of my master Abraham. Prosper my way before me. So see, even Abraham taught, you could see he taught his people, not just his own children, but taught his own people, all of those that were with him, how to believe in Jehovah. Because now his servant is praying to him. Prosper my way before me today, and show mercy to my master Abraham. Look, I have stood at the water spring, and the daughters of the city inhabitants are coming out to draw water. And it shall be, whichever maiden to whom I say, incline your pitcher so I may drink, and she say to me, do drink, and I will water your camels until they stop drinking. You have prepared this one for your servant Isaac, and by this I will know that you have shown mercy to my master Abraham. Okay, so now we can see how the servant how he's praying. Not only do we just see him praying, but we also see how Father listens to everyone, Um, so Abraham has shown all of those that were in his household that it is Father that we take our prayers to. And you can see how you can pray specifically even to Father for your own desires. You can tell him exactly how you're hoping to see him in certain things, for it to feel confirming, confirmation. And that's what he was hoping to see. If this happens this way, I know this is your answer. You've answered the prayer request. You've made this this go successful for my master Abraham. Okay, verse 15. And this happened before he had finished speaking in his mind. Okay, Father knows us inside and out, like I say. He hears our mind, he hears our hearts, um he judges the heart's intents, if it's within good that you ask. If it's in vain, yeah, you better rephrase, or you better think of something else. Because Father doesn't like it when our intents are of cruelty. He's not one to be he's the only avenger if he's gonna have something go on. But when we pray for, but he weighs everything. Don't get me wrong. Can you hear a prayer that's like, people are being pretty messed up, Can you come to your aid on it? Yeah. But when it comes down to like selfish gains and stuff like that, just for, I don't know, fame or stuff like that, Um, but he hears our heart's desires. He hears our heart, he hears our mind. He knows us, what what we ask of him. Before we even finish, he can start answering it. So I think that's amazing. And so right there, that's what we're seeing. And this happened before he had finished speaking in his mind. Okay, so you don't even have to speak the words, but he's also saying these in his mind. He says, sorry, this phone call. Okay, before he had finished speaking in his mind, look, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, and the brother of Abraham. Okay, so remember, in the previous, what was it? In the before we got started on chapter 23, we saw a list of names mentioned, where Abraham was told, his brother had more children, and this is where we connect, where um, Rebecca, Isaac, Isaac's wife here, where she's coming from. Okay, so from Nahor, Abraham's brother. Um, let's go back a little. Look, Rebecca, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, and the brother of Abraham. And that takes care of time. Okay, we'll just stop it right there. We'll just go over it again. It's a really beautiful story, anyways. I love to take my time with the Rebecca and Isaac story. But, anyways, it. I hope it was a blessing to see what's taking place in Abraham's life. Just to study Father and to see how everything's going and how, um, you know, Abraham handled situations and how Father was a blessing all the way through. What is to, be taken from an example of Father by it all? Because, like I said, Father dwells within all of us, so we could just see how, you know, how Abraham just how he handles things, how he comprehends, um, things, and how Father just makes it successful, you know. And now we're seeing how, um, and that was like with his decision making with the people to buy the land for a burial site, and then how he was respectful to them, um, and making it happen. And then, of course, then now we're seeing how even his servant has faith and, and praise, all from the example of Abraham. But anyways, I hope, um, this was insightful and gets you to wonder, think even more on other examples that can, just enhance it even more to what you see back then. It's all our stories are one and the same. They're similar, so it's it's there. It's a beautiful thing to walk with Father in this word, to see these things, and it's like, wow, okay, this can help me in this one situation. He's always there. But anyways, I pray that you all have a blessed week, and I will see you again next Monday. Let's pray to Father and thank Him for what we have gotten from His Word. Abba Yahweh, I come before you giving you thanks for what we got to see, what we got to reflect and meditate on. Again, just looking at all the examples of Abraham and how certain of his situations is kind of how we all, handle certain things ourselves. And it's just wonderful to just look at how it was way back when, and it's no different as of today, and how you hear all of our needs and you take care of all of our um, you know our prayer requests. And so we got to even see a servant here also in his um, he didn't call to any other god but you, Abba. So we can see even how Abraham even taught his servants. He taught many people to know who the right God is to be sought after. And we see through the example of the burial. I don't know how to take it, Abba, of the Heth and all them saying that he was like a king unto a god that they all know. So everywhere you are kind of known, it's just, I don't know how much you're, I don't know what, reverenced, I guess. But they were kind to Abraham, and some way they knew of you, I kind of feel, maybe, and it turned out successful with what he wanted to gain from that people. So we just thank you, Abba, for showing us these examples and how we can look at things. So this when we go to other places or we meet new people, there can be beautiful agreements. There can be arrangements. There could be things, in trades, and just knowing that we all know how to really reflect on what your word is about. And we can see you from, in one way or another, from each other. You make things happen. So we just thank you, Abba, for showing us. Um, we're just thankful, Abba. I'm thankful to see you in all these examples. So I pray that everybody has a blessed week, and that more and more they are seeing you, surrounding them, and seeing many more things by you, so that they can see that their walk in this, putting themselves forward and reading your word for the first time, or even, who knows, even more times, as many advanced ones, we don't stop reading your word, but that we all are being blessed and seeing you out there, Father. So it keeps us always wanting to come to you more and more, to read more, just to see that you're always with us when we give over ourselves to you and desire you just the same, as you wish to show yourself to us. So I thank you, Abba, and I love you. In Yeshua's name, amen. That takes care of it. I shall see all of you guys on Monday. You have a blessed week. And until then, I pray you have, like, if you're part of fellowships during the week, I pray your fellowship is blessed. And I pray that your Sabbath that's on its way, which, is Saturday, that it's blessed. And I shall see you then. Love you all.